I read about all the news about climate change and all that other stuff that's happening. And I ask myself, so I'm just going to read and feel sour and bitter about it. And, do I decide to change my internal climate to ask myself, where's my contribution or value towards being on this planet?
Hi, I'm Shubra, and welcome to the Shift with Shubra podcast. Every week, I share and have a chat with guest experts to dig deep into topics on what nourishes us, mind, body, and soul. So please join me as we shift perceptions and break negative mindsets and be a step closer to a more joyful and energized life. And today's conversation, we have Balan Gopal from Herb in a Cup. Now, gardening can be a productive way to pass time during the social distancing period, while also adding some greenery and potentially food to your home. With schools closed until further notice, indoor gardening is also a way to keep kids entertained and engaged. And let's be honest, like a lot more connected to Mother Nature and planet Earth, which is so obviously very important as we're seeing with current, days of climate change effects, as well as what we're going through now with COVID-19. While most of us do not have the luxury of owning a spacious outdoor space to grow, a formidable garden, a small deck, or even a patio, some of us do not have. Sometimes just a tiny little space in your kitchen, or if you do have a little planter space, is sufficient to bring just that little bit of greenery into your home. And you can cultivate a little indoor garden that way. So today, as I said, we're going to be speaking to Balan, and Balan is a personal fitness trainer as well as an urban farmer. Balan has been featured by the Straits Times as well as Home and Decor magazine. He's the father of two, and he has inspired many fellow Singaporeans to basically elevate their home garden game. He has taught them how they can incorporate recycling into their home garden space by using, old soft drink bottles and styrofoam boxes, and basically, incorporating recycling as part of the growing of their home-based garden or mini-based garden. So I am so excited for you to meet Balan. So let's take it to the interview with Balan Gopal from Herb in a Cup, who is an urban father as well as a personal fitness trainer. Okay, hi Balan. Welcome
Hi,
to the
Shubra.
Shift. Hi, welcome to Shift to Shubha podcast. So I just gave I introduced you a little bit saying about Herb in the Cup and that you're an urban farmer. And but we never really covered your background previously to this. So I just wanted to ask you if you could share with our viewers and listeners, how did the concept of Herb in the Cup came together? Because I remember you mentioning that you actually were in the corporate world actually before becoming a farmer and a fitness trainer. So can you share a little bit about that journey?
All right. So what got me started? I used to come from the corporate world, with your shirt and pants to work kind of thing. So I shed those clothing, and right now I'm working in the comfort of my own clothes. That's number one. How did Herb in a Cup come about? What got me started, right? It started with climate change and food security. Climate change, with regards to the issues or challenges that the world faces, from bee colony collapse, you've got your coral bleaching, you've got pesticide resistance, you've got plastics in the seas, sea level rising, and food security is another factor where 80% of our food is imported from overseas. So if we were to take into consideration the challenges of the world, right? And if those challenges impact the weather and the local countries cannot send food over, we might have a challenge over here. That's one thing. Creating the awareness in terms of education, branding that form of education towards communities, organizations, I feel it's important too. So what got me started was climate change and food security. How did I go about doing this? I looked at the world's challenges. I scaled it down to the country level, and down to my level as a single user. So what could I do, right? I looked at waste in Singapore. So I started looking at coffee waste. In Singapore, we have a saying that we don't have natural resources. How I saw natural resource was we just have to remove that label of association and put it to that coffee waste, and it becomes a natural resource to me. It's basically a byproduct. So that's in the form of abundance. So I looked at it as a natural resource to me. I Googled what you could actually do with coffee waste, and a few things came up. One was you could use it as a facial scrub, but don't use the moldy coffee grinds. Use the fresh
Yes.
ones.
Yeah. Please
Okay.
make sure you dry them out because you're putting then mold and
Yeah.
bacteria on your face. Mm-mm.
The next one was to apply it as a fertilizer, a gentle application to fertilize your plants or your soil. The last one was to grow oyster mushrooms. So I didn't have a background in oyster mushrooms, but the internet these days, it has lots of information. Some of it is not so accurate, and it's towards the local context. It's written in the local context. So I took what I felt was appropriate and I tried. And eventually, there's a philosophy that I picked up along the way also, is to fail fast and fail forward, meaning to say every time you fail, gradually you sort of refine your approach, you review your approach, and then you take it forward again.
Absolutely.
And yeah, I got it to work. I got to grow the oyster mushrooms in a tub. And
Do you
so I
actually
decided,
like oyster mushrooms as well? Otherwise, you're just like,
yes,
oyster mushrooms. Yeah, sure. Let's just try that.
uh, oyster mushrooms, they're healthy. They come with lots of niacin and all the other antioxidants and vitamins. That's one. And number two, it's kind of mysterious to me, meaning to say, if you look at a mushroom, it just sprouts out from the ground. But what's happening underneath, we don't really see it, you see. And if I could try to get it growing and I could consume it, yeah, it's quite a wonderful appreciation of the fungi itself, oyster mushrooms. So I tried, I failed, and I repeatedly failed, but I failed forward and I got it to work eventually, growing it in tubs. So what I wanted to do was to grow them out of cups.
Okay.
So
Like coffee cups or.
yes, yeah, Starbucks, those kind of plastic cups.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I decided, okay, why don't I just buy a bunch of cups and then start with it? And for the strangest reason, it didn't work. Okay. So I was stuck with all these cups right now. Um, so what do I do, right? I decided, hey, okay, I've sort of learned how to grow oyster mushrooms. The next thing is maybe how to grow herbs. And I have no background also, so I went to the internet. And I failed many times and I killed many plants also along the way. And every failure gives you an opportunity. It's a teachable moment, meaning to say, what did you learn from that experience altogether? So it taught me not to give up and look at the actions that you're taking right now. If it's not going to get you where you want to go, what are the refinements that you can actually make? So every failure, there's an opportunity or like a secret message inside of it. How could you
Yeah,
do it better? So
absolutely.
what?
It's a big chance to always pivot, right? Like always
That's
just take a
yes,
slight shift.
yes,
All about
that's correct.
shifts. Yes. Mm.
So you look at what could you learn from the experience, how what you could actually change or the approach that you could change, and um, if you've gone past all the failures, what is left is success in growing the herbs. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
how I saw it.
So
Right?
did you get quite successful at growing the mushrooms then? Where you were like, okay,
Uh,
I've got this covered. It tastes good. Now let's see what's next. What can I
yes.
else could
So
I do?
so I wanted to grow these mushrooms in the cup at that present time, but as for the strangest reasons, it didn't take off. So I was stuck with a problem. I had all these cups. So I learned how to grow herbs using plastic cups that I bought for the mushrooms.
Right. So it was kind of like by accident almost in a way. You're like, oh well, I've got these cups, and now what?
Yes. So the
I
problem
wonder what
and
else I can grow.
solution.
Okay. Yeah. Mm.
Yeah. So the problem became the solution. I managed to get the herbs growing in a cup, and eventually I managed to get the mushrooms growing out of the cup also. So how did I come about herb in a cup was because I had a problem. I had all these cups, and I decided to grow the herbs in the cup. So I got herb in a cup. That's how it actually came about.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, so were you in the corporate world while you were experimenting with this? Is that what happened? You were just like, I'm done.
Ye- yes. So I was sitting. I had a nice desk, a nice ergonomic chair. You had
What were
espresso. You
you
had
doing
all.
in the corporate world, by the
I
way?
was I was in the technology side, right?
Right. Okay.
So
So you in
yeah,
tech. Okay.
yes. So I was a tech guy. Ask me, hey, how do you switch over? That's the common question that I get. But it's what sort of made me think about life on a larger scale was whether what I was doing, was there any value add towards society. I mean,
Mm.
yeah, you get paid, that's fine, but is there any value beyond getting paid?
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
and I decided that, yeah, to take a plunge and explore based on because if the thought process was, if you could solve a problem, be it at a country level, be it a product or a service through a product or a service, right? You still could get paid. Yeah. So I decided to explore the challenges of the world and bring it down to the country level, down to my level, and see what could happen. And yeah, I read about all the news about climate change and all that other stuff that's happening, and I ask myself, so I'm just going to read and feel sour and bitter about it, and where do I decide to change my internal climate to ask myself where's my contribution or value towards being on this planet. So that was what got me started. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So, I mean, that must have been quite a gamble to like leave a safe corporate, good paying, I would imagine, like, at least consistently decent pay, and then suddenly go, you know what? I'm just gonna do this instead. That would have been quite a large decision to make. And was it an easy decision?
Yes, to me, frankly, because it was an adventure. Um, it's like taking a deep dive into yourself to figure out what you're made of when you're actually faced with a blank page.
Hmm.
Yeah, so you want to, and you hold the pen. This time, you don't have your bosses to tell you go do this. You hold the pen, you write your story,
Yeah.
and yeah, um,
Were you
and
married already when you made this
yes,
transition?
yes. So
Okay.
I
Okay.
I was married. I have two boys, 13 and 16 years old now. Yeah, and everybody thought I was nuts. I had lost my marbles. so, so
I
I
mean, it's
say,
not a very common thing like, yes, I'm going to leave my very safe, cushy, paid job. I've got kids and a wife, and I'm just going to go and do this now. I
yeah,
mean, you are also a personal fitness trainer, so you do have,
that's correct.
two different income streams in that sense. But it takes, I think, a lot of courage for people to do something like that, to take,
Yeah.
and especially, having a very supportive family must make a world of difference to do that.
Yes, yes. That's yeah. The family and kids. I think they know my personality or my belief system, and I share with them why I'm doing this also. So sometimes it's if you don't come from that perspective, it's a little bit hard to relate. But the moment you see things happening, what I'm doing, then you start to relate to, hey, this how am I connecting back to all of this? So yes,
That's
yeah,
amazing. Yeah, I mean, your boys must be really in tune with looking for their truth and like living as authentic as possible from the get-go, which is really hard in today's society and in today's world, especially with all
uh,
that we have.
yes, yes. So I share with them that this life is an adventure. You are fully responsible for yourselves. There's no instructional booklet on how to live your life. And if everybody is giving you an instruction to do, you're being programmed, and you would grow up waiting for instructions also on how to live your life. So I shared with them, live your life as an adventure. If things are going to happen to you, that's for sure. But it's how do you learn and treasure that experience so that you take it. It becomes your body armor. It becomes your puzzle to fit together, and you eventually all these broken pieces of a puzzle come together. You will see the big, full, colorful experience of that adventure.
Wow. Okay. Hashtag truth drop right there. Yes, absolutely. um, let's talk a little bit about urban farming in that sense, because obviously
Okay.
I'd really like if we can get into a bit of the nitty gritty for people to understand how difficult or how easy it actually probably is. And I wanted to know, like, with Singapore's climate, in general, because it is quite a tropical country, we don't have very many seasons per se. Like, we don't have distinct four seasons. It's pretty much hot and quite a lot of humidity. Does it make it difficult for us to grow our own herbs in this type of climate? Are we limited to a certain extent with this?
Yes, we are limited to a certain extent. So we want to do or try selective growing. So selective growing, I teach online workshops. So I go into selective growing. I teach people, the clients, what are the types of herbs and vegetables to grow that are favorable to this climate. So, for example, you have mint. There are many types of mint. You have basil. And there are leafy greens also, such as kale, which is a superfood, and the different types of other spinach that you can grow. So the whole idea is to give you the confidence to actually know what to grow rather than take a guess approach towards growing. So this is what I share with people. So the moment you have that confidence, you know the types of soil to use, the frequency of watering or the approach towards watering, the amount of sunlight required, when to apply pesticides, what to look out for, how to propagate. Um, you have that knowledge. You have that knowledge. Let's just say in text, in a word format, right? And then the next step that you're going to do is to try it. So when you experience it, you wait for a result to come. And based on that result, you can have a feedback of exchange with me. If that's if they go to the workshop and stuff like that. And then they take it to the next level. So this is how I sort of encase it so that people can um, try their hand at growing some organic food. Yeah.
Okay. And like, what do you think are some of the really key factors of growing these vegetables pretty easily? Like, do they need to have a certain type of soil? Does that need to be a certain location that they have to look out for in their space? Like, what are the essential factors for growing these basic herbs that we're going to be talking about? Which ones are the best?
So for sunlight, you need about 4 to 6 hours of sunlight. That's a requirement. Unless you're going to grow indoors, then you probably have a LED plant lighting, right? You need sunlight is a requirement here. And soil type, I always recommend using loose, airy soil. So it's very light. When it comes in a bag, it's quite fluffy. You can hold it, and if you put your hands into it and you just give it a gentle crush, it just feels like all broken pieces. You don't have clumps of it. It doesn't clump up easily. So that's the type of soil I would recommend. Another key factor is, this is my personal recommendation, is to go for organic soil. I don't like the ideas of harsh chemicals being mixed into the soil. It's like a mini nuclear bomb that goes off in the soil system. If you have a herbicide or fungicide that goes into the soil, it nukes out all the biodiversity inside the soil. So all your microorganisms are gone, so they don't serve much purpose.
Okay,
So
and then in terms of pests, though, do we have to really look out for pests? Because I'm not a big fan of
uh,
cockroaches, and
pro-
anything really that is of the insect world is not my
um,
fan
for
favorite.
For pests, you do have from time to time, if the plant's immune system is down. So there are two ways to do this, to sort of upskill yourself, is to mitigate this. Is basically you want to fertilize your plants so you boost their immune system. That's one, and you can apply organic pesticides to your plants that you grow.
Is
So
it
if
very necessary though to apply? I mean, are these types of herbs going to attract insects?
No, they don't attract insects, but I find that if the immune system is down, if the immune system is up, chances are I find that they can defend themselves. Um, if let's just say insects were to come, right? Insects are basically, they come there to actually feed off your plant, have a buffet on your before you actually consume it. So To put it in perspective, it's like this: if the insects don't want to, or the pests don't want to eat your plant, right? Then you might be thinking about not eating that plant also.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So if the insect eats the plant, I find that, hey, yeah,
It's a
there's
good
something.
sign. the
So I
the
put it in context in that manner. But there's no cockroaches that run around and they hide in the plant and stuff like that. Yeah, unless you have like rotten stuff, maybe that. I have a compost bin that is made up of organic matter, so banana peels, vegetable peels, and stuff like that. But zero roaches, no ants, because the compost pile generates a significant amount of heat,
mm.
and it may be uncomfortable for these guys to be around. Yeah, so.
Right. Okay. So organic soil that's sort of powdery and fluffy. 4 to 6 hours of sunlight is a must. So finding definitely a good sunny spot wherever that might be, and hopefully no insects. And if there are insects, it shows that the plant is probably either weak in immunity but still very tasty. Clearly, so something's
Yes.
going right, but the immunity is down. So fertilizer is going
Yeah.
to really help with that, because
That's
I had no
correct.
idea that fertilizer was actually the immune system, like to boost immunity for plants. That's awesome. Okay, so that's there. What are the recommended DIY first herbs that a very very new green thumb person comes into to grow? What are the top three that you would
All right.
recommend?
You could try basil. That's one. You could try Thai basil, to be specific. Thai basil. Then you could try Cuban oregano. That's two. And the other one would be mint. You could try mint also. Just to add one more, you'd be Indian borage. That's a local. You can find it around.
What's a borage? Is it like a spinach or?
Yeah, it's like a big leafy thing, but they use it to brew tea. So the story behind it is, if you have a cough and stuff like that, brew it with some in hot water, and then drink it all up. Yeah.
Okay. All right. And then you also mentioned kale. Like, how easy is kale to grow? Because that expensive, yo.
Yes. Kale is pretty easy to grow. You have to start from seed, so it takes about maybe a range of about 30 days. And it's not a one-time harvest. So I have kale plants that give me leaves. I do not chop the whole plant down and start from seed all over again, and they could last for maybe about a year, producing leafy greens for you. So it is easy to grow, and it grows well in our weather.
Okay.
I recommend kale, yeah, for the viewers or the listeners to actually grow kale.
That's amazing. Yeah. Because then don't need to spend money. What? So good.
Yeah,
You
that
grow your
just
own.
a little background on kale. There are studies or reports that say that since it's a superfood and high in demand, right? The farmers or the manufacturers or the producers, they actually spray lots of pesticides on it, because
Yeah.
you there's a demand on it, so you want it to go out in market looking all nice, like a beauty contest kind of thing. So
Right.
it's better to actually grow your own.
Okay. So so on average the turnaround lifespan for these herbs is about 30 days, would you say, for like kale, mint, basil,
Yes,
oregano?
to grow kale, it takes about 30 days, and then you can harvest it and you can consume the leaves. For mint and oregano, what I would suggest is you can actually propagate through stem cutting, so you can multiply them easily. So if you sort of mitigate your risk, if one dies, then you can actually have the rest of it to, yeah, to
You
sustain
got
yourself.
backups.
That's correct.
And they also sort of from seed to harvest, is it also about 30 days for mint and
Um,
oregano or Thai basil?
It's about 30 days. And the faster way to grow this is to get a mother plant and use propagate. So you don't have to start from seed. Just for kale, you need to start from seed. But for the rest of the guys, you can propagate the stem. You do a stem cutting, and then you can actually propagate it. Yeah, it's faster that
Right.
way.
Okay. So for listeners and for viewers, like, you don't actually have to go down to the garden center to pick up seeds specifically, but you can just get the stems from your local fair price or supermarket,
Yes,
and cut and just grow. But for kale, it's more recommended to go from seed.
that's correct. You can't propagate. I've tried. Somebody tried, but it was a hit and miss thing. So I would suggest just grow from grows from seeds, you have a higher chance of success this way.
And you said that you can just start with, coffee cups or I mean, I've read that also you do it in from bottles, for example, for two little, was it one and
Yes,
a half or two little bottles that you turn upside down?
you can actually use your 1.5 liter Coke or 100 plus bottle. You can just slice it into half. Yeah, use the scissors and cut one round around it. So you split the bottle into half, right? So the one with the neck is the one that you can use to grow vegetables in. So you just fill it up with soil, turn it upside down, fill it up with soil,
You
and
need
put
the
your seeds.
cap on, I would imagine, though,
Yes, you
and
can
then
use
drill
the
holes.
yes, that's correct. You can use the cap on. You can make a hole in the cap, or I've tried it this way also without a cap, right? Because when you water, the soil starts to come down and it starts to stay there. It doesn't really flow out anymore. They sort of
Oh,
come together. Yeah, they sort of gently clump together right at the
right.
bottom. Yeah, so it
Okay.
stays there, and then you can actually just put your seeds in and then grow your vegetables out of it.
Oh, that's amazing. Okay. Wow. So it's pretty simple, and in a month, like, we could easily get this done.
Yes.
Like, not to say that we want COVID and the circuit breaker to extend for a month, but in case there's ever another month and you wanted to start your green thumb opportunities, this would be one of the ways.
Yeah.
And you talked about composting earlier. So can you talk about the different types of
Hmm.
composting that we could probably do at home if people wanted to take a venture into that interesting world?
Okay, so for composting, there are two types of composting. One is heat composting. So heat composting is basically you do not use earthworms. You put all your organic matter into a tub or a container which has holes at the bottom for drainage of fluids or liquids. And then what you do next is you add in all your organic matter and a little bit of soil, organic soil that has all the rich bacteria and stuff like that. So you sort of you have a lid and you close it, but you have sort of ventilation holes at the side, so that you can use a masking tape to block out. So there's you don't want any other stuff to get into the compost bin. Over time, what happens is heat and the microorganisms will break down all this compost, and then you can use it. The other one is using earthworms. So I have a earthworm compost bin. I find the difference between earthworms working with earthworms and just heat composting. Earthworms really do a good job. They really break it down, and you look at the compost, it's really fine. You can actually use the liquid uh, drippings, right? You can actually dilute it with water and fertilize your plants if you want to. So if you ask me which one do I prefer, I would say I prefer to work with the earthworms because yeah, they do a faster and better job, and they're really nice to look at. That's how yeah, it's something of nature. So I work with earthworms, mushrooms, fungi, and sometimes from time to time you get a bee coming, you get a butterfly coming. So it's quite therapeutic when you see these things flying around you. Yeah.
What's the turnaround time when you use heat composting compared to the earth one
Okay.
composting? Like,
So
how fast to break down and then you can actually use the fertilized
all right.
compost?
So let's say we go with similar size tubs just to give it a controlled environment, similarized settings. All right. Okay.
Mm.
Heat composting would take maybe a month, right? Let's say full 30 days. And earthworms would take probably 2 weeks, I would say, just to put everything in context. Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay. So earthworms would be a lot faster. And then um you would just use that as natural fertilizer again for your
That is
for
correct.
your plants and stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
And is it relatively easy, because you did start with oyster mushrooms, but is it easy to grow mushrooms in
Yes, you
general?
for oyster mushrooms, yes, but you need a slightly cleaner environment because there are contaminations. The probability of contamination is there because of your air. You cannot see what is in your air. So you want to have a clean room environment or a still box. You work within a still box environment where there's
So would
still
mushrooms
air.
be able to grow indoors compared to the rest then?
Yes, yes. It's the part to get it right is to have your environment right. Have your in the preparation stage. Once you have it right, yeah, it takes off from there.
Okay. So that's really good news. I mean, essentially, you could have your own compost system, which then makes your own fertilizer, which then builds the immunity for your herbs and plants, which take roughly about 30 days uh, to really harvest. But then in terms of regrowth, once you have the mother plant, it's
Yes.
continuously going. So it's not as intimidating as I actually thought it would probably be. So that's kind of good news. It's almost like now the only thing is to just get the things together. And how easy is it to get materials? Like, I mean, obviously the bottle and the tubs, like you could probably get from recycled materials, which I know that you're a big fan of. What about like things like organic soil? Is it relatively easy to pick up from like your local mall or local fair price, or is you have to go to a specific location? And also earthworms, let's say if people
Okay.
wanted to do that.
For soil, garden centers they do them. So basically they'll just state their organic soil, and then what are the material and stuff that is included in this organic soil. You can buy them from any garden centers or your local supermarket like NTUC Cold Storage. They should have them. I buy them from the Nature Company. So that's where they have all they have a lot. They carry a lot of organic products. That is something which I prefer to use. For the fertilizers and stuff also, you can actually make them using like a seaweed that you know the sushi wrap, but you
Mm-hmm.
use the roasted one, so not the salted one. You can actually make your own fertilizers also. So that is something that you can do. Yeah, just a DIY, a little DIY.
Oh wow. Okay. And then earthworms,
All right.
not exactly next door neighbor
Oh no,
shop.
you can buy them from me. I actually sell them in small compost bins. I breed those earthworms, so you can actually buy them. WhatsApp me or message me, and I can just sell you a tub of earthworms and teach you how to do earthworm composting.
Wow, that's pretty cool. Okay, so for all of those who want to really try, composting in your apartment or house, like get in touch with Balan so that you can get your own compost kit with earthworms. And what a better way to get more connected with nature since we're so removed from it at the moment as well. That's amazing. So Balan, you said you have a couple of workshops coming up, and I wanted, could you just share what type of workshops and seminars or programs do
Okay.
you do?
Uh, the few workshops that I'm going to do is the urban permaculture workshop. It's basically a workshop that teaches you, since we have the lockdown, so I will tailor it to the things that you can do at home. It's about growing your own food, working with recycled matter, and also how to make yogurt. So there's a element of growing and eating at the same time. So that's the urban permaculture workshop that I'll be hosting online. I'll be also hosting workshops with regards to online and offline bullying. So that's something on the side that is of interest to me. And self-empowerment workshops also. So the power of I, basically. This is on the side. In a nutshell, these workshops revolve around the four estates, I call it. Basically, it's your emotional state. Your emotional state flows into your mental state. And it's how your emotions go into your thoughts. So your thoughts becomes your emotional, your mental, your physical. So after your thoughts, you go into your actions, and it's the type of actions that you take. And then the last one, it goes into your nutritional state. The types of foods that you put into your body, how does it enhance your awareness, so on and so forth. So the workshops that I do are urban permaculture workshops. I also do online fitness workshops, um, off online and offline bullying. That's another workshop. It also covers a bit of emotional vocabulary to help you express yourself better, to articulate the thoughts better. So you do not always say, "I don't know how I feel. I can't describe it," kind of thing. You know. And also self-empowerment, that is rather important to me. So the whole idea is to have an internal climate change so that our actions on the outside reflect a better climate change for us all together. So just on the side note, it's like uh, I give talks on climate change also, and I always share this with people. It's not so much that the climate has changed, but our behaviors have changed. It's
Yeah,
because of
that's the
our behavior.
fundamental truth of it,
Yes.
really, is that human behavior has changed and now it's affecting the outside world.
That is correct. Yes. So these are the workshops that I'm running online. Yeah, just to share with you.
Okay, that's amazing. So if anyone basically wants to become, a little bit more in tune with their urban farmer hat, or they're interested in things like online and offline bullying and mindsets as well, Balan is definitely a great person to go for. So please definitely click on the links that are below this episode, and yeah, get in touch with Balan. Thank you so much, Balan, for joining us today. That was really, really insightful. I am going to try at least one
All
before our
right.
next conversation. I'll try one herb thing, and then I
Okay.
might try the compost, but I'll see if I can get kale a try.
Okay.
Maybe basil.
Keep growing, you know? Yes.
I try one because I think it's a great activity as well for little kids, and having a toddler, I think it'd be great if she gets into it. So thank you so much for sharing all these
Thank you
amazing
for
tips
having me on
today.
your show. Thank you very much. Thank
Yeah,
you.
and I think just one last question that I'd like to wrap up with is I think you kind of talked about this, but officially, I would like to ask is like, what is the shift that you want to create for the people, in the world with the craft that you do?
Okay, so it comes down to, in a nutshell, a summary, it comes down to self-empowerment, where we are responsible for our thoughts, actions, emotion, feelings. And if we empower ourselves, we can make a huge difference with the challenges of the world. So it's not like everybody just following everybody. So if everyone's thinking alike, then nobody's really thinking. So I want everybody to think independently, to challenge where we are today so that we can identify what are the real challenges. The world is our classroom, it's no longer the four walls. So if kids grow up with the understanding of the challenges that are active and around today, they can come up with actual solutions, and they're comfortable with providing solutions and taking action towards those solutions. So this is um, my carbon footprint, if you ask me, that I would like to leave behind.
That's amazing. Thank you so much again.
Thank you.
That's
Thank you very
wonderful.
much.